WandaVision concluded a couple weeks ago, and with it ended the first MCU series on Disney+. The MCU has had other TV series based in their universe, but never has it impacted the overall arc Kevin Feige has planned quite like WandaVision has. I'm Matt from Respawning, and let's have a look at what the series did well and not so well as we review WandaVision. Oh, and expect spoilers ahead. WandaVision is a surreal series, starting off as a homage to the biggest sitcoms of American history, with the first few episodes being solely set in this TV world Wanda has created, and we get to see the shenanigans that go on. It's great viewing, with everything feeling authentic to each era, and plenty of nods to past MCU events. Little happens past these sitcom tropes in the first few episodes, except a few Twilight Zone moments to let us know not all is right, and to give Wanda a reason to progress each decade. I do really enjoy these first few episodes. It's a great way to reintroduce us to these characters and give us more time with them just being themselves, something we haven't been able to see before. WandaVision is at its core a story about grief. Being set a few weeks after the events of Endgame, we see Wanda dealing with the trauma of losing Vision by creating an alternate reality inside a hex, where Vision is still alive. It also introduces us to many new characters who will grow and evolve later on in the MCU, as well as giving us more time with past side characters from previous movies. I'm going to try and focus this review on each character's story, as I feel the purpose of WandaVision was to build up these characters. Let's begin with Teyonah Parris' character of Monica. She is first introduced to us as Geraldine inside Wanda's TV world. However, when she starts talking to Wanda about some of her trauma outside of this world, she angers her and she is ejected from this reality, and we eventually learn she is actually Monica Rambeau, last seen as a child in Captain Marvel. However, things have not been going well for her, as we find out in a fascinating scene she was part of the Blip. We get to see her get dusted back to existence and get to feel for the panic and chaos that would have been happening. Unlike in Far From Home, this isn't being played for laughs, and you feel the confusion, and having it in a hospital setting was a great way to show this wasn't a simple and easy fix as it first seemed. Monica's focus isn't on the Blip though. With all the chaos going on around her, she just wants to find her mother, who we learn died a couple years prior to Monica being dusted back. She doesn't take time to mourn however, quickly trying to rejoin S.W.O.R.D. We see in these scenes the legacy her mother has left, and allows us to understand the frustration Monica must be going through being unable to continue that. She is sent on a missing persons case though, which reconnects us with Jimmy Woo. I loved getting to see more Jimmy Woo. Whilst he doesn't end up having a major role to play in the series, his impact is definitely felt, and he has plenty of moments that brought me joy.
Flourish.
Woo explains to us at Westview, despite being in clear sight of everyone, that nobody seems to believe it exists. There's something eerie going on, and the town doesn't want anyone to enter. It's here we get to see our first glimpse of Monica's character. With Woo being afraid of the hex, Monica doesn't hesitate, and gets herself temporarily trapped inside Wanda's world. It sets up Monica instantly as a hero, and someone brave enough to risk herself for answers. Monica is our gateway to understanding what's going on, and having S.W.O.R.D. ask the question the viewers is also asking. We learn that going through the hex alters her DNA, and going through it again could also be deadly for her. These scenes also introduce us to Hayward, a character who might as well have a huge stamp on his head saying bad guy. He is very one-dimensional, and it's clear his motives are self-involved, even if we don't get to truly understand them. We find out through Darcy he is trying to rebuild Vision as a weapon, something we know is illegal as he had just accused Wanda of doing the exact same thing. I feel Hayward is solely here to push Monica's growth further, and to give us that epic MCU battle conclusion we're accustomed to. He does a great job of what he's given, and he does a good job of undermining Monica, as we sense he feels she could be a threat to him later, as well as pushing Wanda to try and take Vision's body. Hayward's actions, however, by trying to discharge Monica, Darcy and Woo, leads to them going off and meeting what seems to be a separate faction of S.W.O.R.D. This all leads into Monica's hero moment. After failing to get through the hex with the vehicle brought by S.W.O.R.D., she risks her own life again, fully knowing the potential consequences this time. and in a wonderfully shot scene, we see her moving forward, being split apart to her different character traits, hearing the voices of her role models and loved ones, pushing her further on, doing this not only to help the people of Westview, but also Wanda, who by this point appears to be the villain. It humanises Monica, showing her as someone who cares for everyone, even the cause of all this madness going on. I think overall this is a great introduction for Monica into the MCU. We haven't fully established her powers yet, but we understand her ideology and her motives going forward. Wu and Darcy were also pleasant additions to the cast. Although I feel they could have done more with Darcy towards the end, it does leave them available and open to further projects down the line. Let's move on to Vision's arc. When we last saw Vision, things were not going well for our favourite Synthozoid, having the Mind Stone ripped out his head by Thanos. WandaVision quickly nods to that, with the first joke being about his indestructible head. But for the most part, everything seems fine for Vision. Bettany does a brilliant job in these earlier episodes adjusting to each era and really getting to show off his comedy chops. It's really enjoyable getting to see his and Wanda's relationship and really feel the connection they share. Things start to change for Vision though, as he starts realising something is wrong. With Wanda's accelerated pregnancy and his various interactions with the Westview neighbours, we start to see him pull back the veil that Wanda is projecting and start to question his own history and memories. All the time, Wanda is in denial that this world is being questioned, not wanting anyone to potentially ruin this for her. And we had earlier seen Wanda alter anything that was a threat to her. However, having someone she loves question it, and someone she can't actually control, leads to this passionate, incredible scene with Vision confronting Wanda over what's really going on. Bettany and Olsen both did a brilliant job of displaying their own characters' emotions, and felt true to what we know about them, and how they would react in this situation. We find out here Vision doesn't have any prior memories to Westview, and is struggling to find answers, and the person he loves is refusing to give them to him.
Before what? I can't remember my life before Westview. I don't know who I am. I'm scared.
As Vision seems to be getting through to Wanda, however, there's a knock at the door, and there waiting is Fox's Quicksilver, along with 1,000 fan theories. I want to touch on the fan theories for a moment, as they clearly impacted the overall experience of WandaVision. I loved getting to dive into what I'd just seen with my friends, and coming up with wild theories about what was going to happen each week was really fun. However, I'm not disappointed Mephisto or Reed Richards didn't show up, or this lead into the X-Men being introduced, as the story didn't warrant it, and other than a couple of Easter eggs here and there wasn't too much to suggest these theories were ever going to happen. The Pietro bait is frustrating, just in the way that they did it more than anything else, as I feel we've seen them use the "he's just an actor" troll before.
Don't hurt the face, I'm an actor.
I do think it was the right choice not to have him be the introduction to the X-Men though, as it would confuse a lot of the audience who may not have seen Fox's franchise. And let's be honest, that franchise is confusing enough with the timelines already.
Let us go talk to the professor.
McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing.
This was just fan service that backfired. Although I will add, I really enjoyed getting to see Evan Peters again, and he did a great job in the show. One plot point that is neglected though, that had a lot of fan theories surrounding it, was the missing persons case Wu was initially there for. I wouldn't quite consider it them fading Chekhov's gun, as it isn't a huge setup. However, it is a trigger for Wu, and eventually Sword, to realise something is going on for Westview, and it's something that's never fully explained. Getting back to Vision's arc, having had his argument with Wanda, and Pietro now in the mix to stir up trouble, Vision continues to look for answers, leading him and us to further explore Westview. The further he gets out, the clearer it becomes Wanda is not fully in control of these people. In a particularly eerie scene, we see a woman in a loop hanging out some laundry as a tear rolls down her face. It's getting more and more obvious these citizens are in distress and clearly being tortured. The further he gets, the less people move, until they're eventually all frozen. Vision is clearly shocked seeing this, and stumbles on Agnes at the edge of town. She seems confused at first, but unlike everyone else is actually able to interact with Vision. Their subsequent interaction is frightening for Vision, and despite the fact we know Agnes is tricking him, it still leads to Vision trying to escape the hex. It's a terrific end to that particular episode, with Vision being torn apart as he pleads with Sword to help these people, and we discover Wanda is actually able to extend the hex in a brilliant set piece. From here, Vision starts to get some answers, as Wanda extending the hex allowed Darcy to enter and Vision to free her mind. It was great to see Vision learn about his past, and seeing him still have that love for Wanda as he is finding out the trauma they have both been through. He ends up rushing to her side, only to find the White Vision attacking Wanda. White Vision probably has the least setup of all the antagonists in the series, but I understand why that is. The story is about Wanda, and she is the main villain. White Vision is set up as a pawn for Hayward, and a reason to give Vision something to fight at the end, as Wanda takes on Agatha. It works for me though, as their fight leads to some stunning visuals and spectacle, and the ending of their battle brilliantly sums up Vision's character as someone who is incredibly powerful, but would rather have a philosophical debate rather than punch his way to victory. It also allows White Vision to go off and do his own thing for a while. I expect him to come back soon, but as of right now, the Vision we know is gone. Vision's final scenes are incredibly emotional. We've come to expect these powerful lines from Vision throughout his history, but they still all manage to land in a positive way. The primary focus of WandaVision though is Wanda, and her finding a way to deal with her grief. Olsen does an amazing job throughout the series, and they manage to show every stage of grief, with the whole hex being Wanda in denial, her anger at Monica and Vision questioning this reality, her bargaining to save Vision and this lie by extending the hex, and the whole subsequent episode explored her depression, with her being unable to control what is going on any longer. Throughout this whole process we see glimpses of Wanda's trauma bleeding through. Even if some of it may have just been to mess with her, this all leads to her reaching acceptance and saying goodbye to Vision, as well as her children. I think anybody can relate to Wanda, and as Monica said, given her powers, we'd probably all do the same in that situation. But that doesn't make her any less of a villain. She may have believed she was helping the people of Westview, but she was actually torturing them. The journey for Wanda was not an easy one, made harder by the fact that the lovable nosy neighbour Agnes is actually revealed to be Agatha Harkness, who, as revealed in an incredibly catchy song, has been messing with everyone all along. This song gets a bit of a mislead, as Agatha didn't actually create the hex, but what she has been doing is sending in long-lost recasted brothers, as well as other nefarious tactics in order to get information out of Wanda about how she created the hex and the source of her powers. Agatha is presented as a villain. However, they never really get into her motivations past wanting Wanda's powers. She does explain that Wanda's powers is chaos magic and actually names her the Scarlet Witch.
And that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
It seems the MCU has altered that to being some sort of mythical title rather than just being Wanda's superhero name. Agatha is the one pointing out what Wanda is doing is evil, and even labels her as cruel as Wanda traps her as Agnes. I think they've tried to set her up as not being truly evil, and allow some room for growth down the line. I really hope we get to see more of Agatha, as Catherine Hahn does a stellar job of portraying her, managing to mix her obvious comic abilities whilst just going all out and delivering an intriguing character who I just want to see more of. I think the standout scenes with Wanda and Agatha come in the penultimate episode. It's possibly the most important episode of the show for how it affects the MCU as a whole. It reconceptualizes Wanda's whole story up until this point, as we learned she had magical abilities early on, and getting to see the scene with her and Pietro trapped with the Stark bomb allows us to see it in a whole new light and understand it more, really adding layers to it. The scene with Wanda and Vision is one that will stick out with me for a while, and really makes you understand why these two characters connected in the first place. What this episode also manages to do is explain why Wanda created this whole reality in the first place, as we see that TV is her way of escaping. It's something that we can all relate to, of putting on a TV show or movie and wanting to forget about our issues. This episode was full of revelations, as we also learned Hayward had tricked us and Wanda didn't actually steal Vision, but in a heartbreaking moment, it was seeing the deeds to her and Vision's house, along with the note he wrote for her, that really broke Wanda, and we see the extent of her powers by creating this reality, and even creating Vision, including the Mind Stone. The conclusion was as expected, a big MCU fight, with a lot going on. It's what brought us all into this universe to begin with, and what they specialise in. It doesn't really show us anything new, but it all still kept my interest and concentration. What I did enjoy is the two primary battles ended with a swerve. Having already spoke about the ending to the Vision battle, we also have Wanda fighting Agatha, so having Wanda call back to what Agatha taught us earlier and putting ruins around the hex and preventing Agatha from casting any spells. It's a great way of ending the battles, having all our characters grow and learn, whilst also allowing the so-called villains to survive and potentially reprise their roles later on. Wanda and Vision saying goodbye to their children and subsequently each other is beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, with Olsen and Bettany really bringing the incredible writing to life. I feel it's the right way to conclude the story, with Wanda finally reaching acceptance and moving forward as the Scarlet Witch. As we prepare for her involvement in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and Spider-Man No Way Home, we all understand that her motivations will be to get her children back, and we already have that emotional attachment, allowing her to focus on the stories they want to tell. Overall, I really enjoyed WandaVision. I think it did a brilliant job of showcasing grief and growing these characters we've known for years, as well as introducing some potential fan favourites later down the line. I'd give Wanda a 9 out of 10, as I think it does typically lands with only a few hiccups along the way. Thank you for watching this video. Comment down below letting us know your thoughts on WandaVision, and if you've enjoyed this video then please like and subscribe for more content, including all your usual gaming news and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at RespawningUK, and check out our website for all the latest news and updates, www.respawning.co.uk. Thank you again, I've been Matt from Respawning, and I'll see you next time.